Hi, this is Gwen Reyes with the Dallas International Film Festival. I'm here with JP Castell, who's the producer of Random Stop. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I know that you just flew in from LA, I'm assuming, last night?
Yeah, we're from LA. The film was actually made from UCLA. It's a dual and master's thesis for cinematography for Justin Perkinson and for directing for Benjamin Arfman. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So are you still a student, or you were just like, I'm just going to hang out with these kids?
I was actually a student a couple of years ago, and then a lot of the people that were going through the master's program when I was an undergrad, right when I was at the end, I used to rent the camera out to a lot of them. They were like, hey, help me out. You know, I know you've been doing a lot of music videos and this kind of stuff, and looking for a good producer. And I was like, okay, sure. You know, it's always fun to kind of do this stuff because they have grant funding, which is always nice.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to
stuff,
put the money yourself.
Yeah, it's hard for shorts. There's just like no one's financing shorts. So yeah, but yeah. So.
That's awesome. Well, go ahead and just tell me a little bit about Random Stop. You were saying before that it's very intense.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. So Random Stop's actually based on a true story. So in 1998, a police officer by the name of Sheriff Deputy Kyle Dean Keller was in his truck at the end of his shift, and basically a speeding pickup truck just flies right by him, and he's like, oh man, like, you know, he takes the car and he pursues it, he pulls him over, and this 48-year-old Vietnam vet named Andrew Brandon steps out, and immediately he's just like, you know, out of the car, why'd you pull me over, you know? And he's like, hey sir, can you just, you know, take your hands out of your pockets? And the guy just flips, and basically, you know, since the officer was young, he's only 22 years old, he hadn't a lot of experience with that, and so he kind of froze up a little bit, and it allowed the guy enough time to go back to his car and basically load a rifle, and he pulled his rifle out, and they proceeded to get into a really intense gun battle, and that's kind of what drafted us to the story. Is very intense, and it was actually all caught on dash cam of the actual police car, because this is right when they started implementing the dash cam, and so that video actually is used in police training in Los Angeles, and was leaked online. So Ben and I are big Redditors, and we actually seen it on Reddit and separately. And then when he brought the project to me, I was like, oh man, I remember that video. It's so intense. And he came to me and he was like, I want to do this, but I also want to do it POV. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that sounds incredible, because what a way to like put yourself into a story, you know, but there's no better way than POV, and that's kind of why we did the project, is kind of put you in the right into the body of what police officers go through on a daily basis potentially.
So the POV, because I thought that was a really interesting point that you brought up, that you were like, we're going to do this and have that POV perspective, but was that ever a challenge as you were going through filmmaking?
Yeah, so well, first of all, we kind of started at NAB. Actually, I'm going to be going there right after this. But we went there and we looked at a lot of different camera possibilities. And a lot of them were like cool new military tech that was high quality, but they really didn't have a full package. And so we ended up settling with this company called Rated Images, which has done 127 hours. They did End of Watch.
I was going to say, sounds exactly like End of Watch.
Yeah, so the camera actually from End of Watch is a rehoused like version of a bigger camera, and they had put it kind of on their chest, so we spent a lot of time in R&D kind of figuring out how to mount on your on a helmet rig. Ended up using a skydiving helmet so that you can kind of get body awareness, and it was very hard because I'm sure these camera guys can attest, but that actually connected to a small little computer that ran Windows XP that would just like always mess up. And so it was a challenge definitely to film. And I think Justin, who's actually our DP and he's in China right now, he basically has to embody this character. So there's certain points where there's stunts and we have squibs. So he's in a full stunt suit, police officer suit on top of it. He's got this whole camera rig to him. He looks like a cyborg, and you know, in 107-degree heat. So it's a little crazy. And
sounds like a dream.
Yeah. So. But it was definitely a challenge. It was a lot of fun. I'm a big hands-on producer, and I love doing camera tech. And Justin and I and Ben just spent a lot of time R&D'ing to make sure we got the right.
Did you get to wear the helmet? You were like, I'm gonna see what it's like.
Yeah, we all kind of tried it on to make sure it was doable, and it's funny because Radiant Images was talking about, we've kind of found from all of our testing that 8 pounds is kind of the max you want to put on your head, because you don't really want to put anything else, because some of the rigs get bigger and then you have to weight it on the other side, and it was very challenging to get something that felt centered, that felt right, and that's why I'd say go see the film just for that aspect alone, because we think it's unique. So it's we hope that people will say it's innovation. But
so since I haven't had a chance, and a lot of our viewers haven't had a chance to see the film yet, when the actor, can you talk a little bit about like working with the actors to get them to be able to, when they would wear the helmet, when they wouldn't wear the helmet, kind of that sort of situation?
So this is a great question for Ben. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. But basically kind of talking about his process, the interesting thing about POV is that usually when working with actors or when working with in a regular film, I'll kind of talk about the editing side first because it'll kind of explain what I'm talking about. But you can kind of quicken scenes up. You know what I mean? If you and I were talking right here and I gave coverage of both of us, we can kind of cut between us or cut back to you to kind of feel some emotion that we're trying to push or something like that. With POV, you can't do that because our film is a oneer. It's a 6.5 oneer, which is kind of stitched together. But you can't tell. And so the whole thing, and this is what Ben did fabulously, and we kind of discussed a lot in the beginning, was the pacing and the everything had to be exactly correct because there's no way that we could change it. And so he spent a lot of time with our two main actors, Jeff, who does the voice acting and does some of the reflections, and Brian Cross, who does our main bad guy, running through the sequence. And then Justin had a really big challenge because he kind of had to shadow what Jeff was doing and then embody that on set. And then Jeff then in turn had the challenge of kind of doing ADR on top of that. So it was really an interesting way of doing it, but it was came together really well. I was really surprised that it came together so well. But,
well, I guess it's like all that planning, you know, like when you plan it out that well, you know exactly what beats you want to hit and all that.
And it's tough too because since it's all supposed to be one shot, we shot it over 3 days, and you know the sun changes a bunch. So we're sitting here thinking about making light maps of the sun, thinking about all the blocking, all that kind of stuff, because you have a section where he's like, okay, you got to shoot this way, then you got to run behind, and then you're gonna get shot, and like all this kind of stuff, and then being able to look outside that stuff, and then what Ben is so good about is then working with the performance and make sure to capture that. I mean, it's really scary what happens with Brian. You know, I mean, he really embodied Andrew very well, and it's funny because he's from Charmed, and he's very like kind of lover boy kind of guy, and it was scary to see kind of what happened on set. So.
Well, and since it's based off of a true story, did you have any issues kind of like doing that, or did you kind of make it all fictionalized?
We did both. The true story, and a lot of times with stories like this, it's actually under public domain because he is an officer of the public. And then we've reached out to Lawrence County Sheriff's Office was working with them a little bit. Worked a lot with LAPD because they were local for us, just making sure we told the story right, because this incident, since it's used in education, it has had an impact on procedures, kind of like 9/11 and a lot other few events like that. It kind of showcases why do police officers potentially maybe pull their weapon now earlier, because they've all gone on the first day of school, they've watched this video, they've seen like this officer not pull his weapon or not fire at this guy, and it ends up being deadly for him. And so that's kind of why we did the project, is to kind of show you that other side, because we know that, like, especially on Reddit, you know, police get a bad rep and there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and so it's kind of showing you the other side of things, which is really interesting.
Well, it's interesting that it's playing in Dallas too, because we've had a lot of issues with this in our local news and our local police force, is that they have been being very cautious about when they pull their weapons, and a lot of them are getting injured or shot or killed, and it's an unfortunate thing. And so it's going to be interesting to see this kind of play for a Dallas audience to have their own experience put into that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And like the biggest thing that we kind of learned with working with law enforcement and developing this project, especially as a producer, is that you kind of work with people who put their lives on the line in a real way every day. And that's kind of something to be really respectful of and proud. And I mean, everyone hates when you get a ticket, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, I guess being ticket, that sucks. But like, you know, they go through certain procedures because of situations like this. And that's really what I've come to respect, because, you know, I used to be the guy who was like, you know, ticket, damn, you know, but now it's a lot better. You know, now it's like, you know, you give them respect, do exactly what they need so that they're safe, and everyone goes kind of about their day, you know?
So JP, the Random Stop premieres during the festival. Can you say when people can go and see it?
Yes. So you can see it tomorrow at 12:30. I think it's in, how do you pronounce the name of the theater here?
The Angelica?
Yeah, the Angelica. Okay, the Angelica.
Saturday, April 5th.
Yeah, so Saturday at 12:30 at the Angelica. I'm not sure what theater it is. I think it might be 4, but I hopefully that's right.
As part of the, I guess that would be the Shorts 1 block?
Yes, no, Shorts 2.
Shorts
it's Shorts 2. Yeah, so Shorts 2. And you can check it out on our website too, at randomstop.com, which is great. And then we're looking like we're going to do a premiere online in either June or July. So
Awesome.
definitely check it out there, and hopefully we'll have a big press release with it. So.
Great. And how long are you in Dallas?
We're here till I brought my girlfriend Jenna. We're here till Tuesday, I think, and then Monday. Actually, we're here till Monday, and then we're heading out to NAB in Vegas. So.
Oh, wow. Well, you have to definitely go get some barbecue while you're here. Unless you're LA vegetarians. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, JP, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.